most of actually what I debated back then, which I don't almost doesn't exist today, is much more almost like a straight up atheism. And even evolution was a bigger issue back then. And I don't feel like I ever debate atheism or evolution today. And so that would have been like the bigger like science, and that would have been the big issue.
Why don't you? That's really odd.
Yeah.
There's no more atheism.
It's you kind of had the rise of the new atheist, I felt like. So about a decade ago, Hitchens, Sam Harris, Dawkins, and I think it was a guy named Daniel Dennett. They're kind of called the four horsemen of like the apocalypse, atheistic apocalypse or whatever it was. But they were like the four horsemen of atheism, and they were really going after religion. And part of that was a little bit of a response to 9/11. So 9/11 happens, religion poisons everything, these radical religious extremists attacked. And if we were all just secular, became atheistic, we wouldn't have these problems. And so they came in like a flood, and there was tons of atheism that I would interact with 10 years ago. Even campus, there were tons of atheistic, agnostic campus groups. I don't bump into them anymore. I don't know if they exist. I don't know if they waste their time. So it's kind of funny. I remember years ago, I misheard the guy. I was at Washington State, and there was a guy who I kind of became friendly with. He was the president of the Secular Cougars, or Secular Cougs, over at Washington State. And the first time he said it, I thought he said the Secular Kooks. So I started calling them the Secular Cougs. and it just kind of became fun from there. It's like, oh, well, the Secular Kooks are here. And but yeah, so that doesn't really exist anymore. Obviously, you still have like an atheist here or there, but in the same level of debate that was going on 10 years ago or even 20 years ago, and that kind of ties in. And part of it might be the way I speak. I don't feel like I ever debate evolution on campus. So yeah, and why exactly that is, there's a little element where the new atheism died out. I think most people, you can't live in atheism, or you end up turning towards communism or socialism, or you need some sort of religion. You need some sort of goal that you're living for. You just can't live in a totally meaningless society.
Right.
At some level, people can individually, but I don't think you can corporately. And so I think there's even like a small influx of, I remember Nashville opening up like kind of like secular churches where like you'd come and, sing, Woody Guthrie songs or something like that. And you try to have like this community through that. So you need community. You're made to be with other people. So I just don't think it's sustainable long term.
Do you think they're still around, or?
I think they are. I think the main thing I've noticed, I guess the only way I can kind of think about it is my main debate now with people is everyone's become therapeutic. So that you've had a much bigger therapeutic turn. So when people are asking me questions about God, they're willing to grant that God exists, but it's much more of a question, well, is he good? Because ABC happened to me when I was growing up. Right. Where was God during that time? And so it's almost like, and so maybe the objection has just been settled into the problem of evil much more than a straight up atheism. They just kind of maybe camp out. Yeah. And so like, because again, every now and then I will interact with an actual atheist, but it's kind of funny. It's kind of like, I forget what this debate is like because I just don't do it every day.
Yeah.
Right? So, so I would say that's probably the main pivot I've seen in the last 10 years as far as you don't have that blatant atheism. You may have had it a quarter century ago. Atheism, God, and evolution were definitely bigger quarter of a century ago, and I don't feel like I interact with those.
Are these people believing in some sort of other deity or some sort of other religion? I mean, you mentioned a little bit of move to Marxism, but
yeah, I think it's kind of. This term's kind of overused, but it's almost like a lot of young white people, if they apostatize, they turn towards like BLM. They turn,
and I mean, true of black people too. I mean, it's just kind of a religious thing.
Yeah. So you still stuff it with a new.
It's different for white and black people.
Yeah, but it's a new you kind of have a new evangelical cause. Like the problem's white supremacy. So here's now original sin is the white power structures, and we're going to reorient the power structures. And so that's probably the main thing I've noticed as young people have departed from the church, departed from the faith. They're usually zealous for some sort of social cause.
Yeah.
And I would say the Summer of Floyd obviously plays a huge role in that. I would see a huge spike of apostasy coming out of the Summer of Floyd where people get into that and they end up leaving the church because the church is racist or whatever it is and blah, blah, blah. And so they go into other directions. And so I think it's mainly, so maybe it's just more of maybe like a settled atheism. I'm not sure. I'm thinking through it for the first time because it's not like it's not even like I think they're thinking in terms of there's no God. It's just, we just have these egalitarian values of whites and blacks and men and women, homosexuals, transgenders, and now egalitarianism is kind of the de facto, I guess if I was to sum it up, is the de facto God for these people.
It's like we realize that we do actually need to have some sort of exterior cause or something outside of ourselves that we are fighting for and surrender to.
Yeah. And even morality. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you need that. Yeah. Like, so you need your values of egalitarianism and diversity, inclusion, equity, justice. You know what I mean? So, and you need to live for something. You just can't not do that.
Right.
So,
which also makes sense of why they're fighting so hard is because you don't want your God to be disproven.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's a new fundamentalism. It is. Yeah. It is. That's why I kind of, when I'm poking them on campus, I'm like, you guys are just fundamentalists. Like, you haven't thought through why you believe what you believe. It's like you show up to a church and someone questions the Bible and the church doesn't know how to respond.
Yeah.
I show up and question your beliefs and you guys don't know how to respond. And then get out of here. Because it is a type of fundamentalism. You've just been given equality. So like one of the things I try to get my crowd on is like, here we are at such and such university, and most of them would still kind of accept evolution. They just don't debate for it. I would say, so here we are at such and such university, and most of you go to your classroom, you talk about evolution and survival of the fittest. Then you guys want to come out here and talk about equality. And I was like, well, there's no place for equality in Darwin's theory of evolution. And I was like, just look around this campus. Some people are taller, shorter, and some people are more superior than others. And that's usually like, how dare you say something? Because what they end up hearing is I'm a white guy saying I'm superior to everybody, or I'm a guy superior to women, sort of thing. But that's the thing that kind of draws them out, was you kind of have to attack their idol. And their idol is either, the two things I'll go after is diversity or equality. That's what you kind of have to poke at.